good morning. And first of all, I'm going to start with two disclaimers. The first disclaimer is I was, I'm extremely nervous presenting to people who I think know a lot more about marketing and digital than I do. And I told Shiny and the organizing team that while this is a privilege, it is humbling, at the same time extremely scaring and daunting. And she said, no, you should just tell your story and talk about your company and don't feel like it's not required for you to be very smart. So I said, okay, that sounds like par for the course. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about Bombay Shaving Company and Bombay, introduce myself. I have half an hour I'm given to understand. So maybe spend 15, 20 minutes talking about our story, Bombay Shaving Company, Bombay, the barber shop, and all the things that we have created. And then maybe spend 10 minutes in a more interactive session because I would love to just hear your thoughts, and for me that's a lot more valuable to kind of get questioned. Again, incredible to see AdTech grow, and huge kudos to the organizing team. I was with my I am Lucknow very close friend Rajat. He's at Google and understands advertising a lot more. So we took a long walk around the exhibition and all the companies doing cool stuff. And he, in fact, was educating me a lot about how advertising is working today and how a lot of the things are kind of evolving super quickly. So very kicked to be here. The second disclaimer is people who are closer to the stage. If you see that half my arms have hair and the other half does not have hair, it's not a fashion statement, it is a job hazard. So when you test products, which is why I try to wear something which covers me entirely, otherwise there would be much less audience in the room. But that's disclaimer number two. My name is Shantanu Deshpande. I'm the founder and CEO of Bombay Shaving Company and Bombay. I always do this whenever I see a large forum. It's a good way for me to do a sample. How many people before this keynote and all was announced have heard of Bombay Shaving Company? Beautiful. Those who have used Bombay Shaving Company or Bombay, keep their hands up. Not bad. Not bad. Very cool. That's almost an 80% to 30%. Very good. Good. That's Shiny. That was my quick marketing survey to start off with. I come from the city of Pune, but Bombay Shaving Company and Bombay has been around for 6.5 years now. We're headquartered out of Delhi, but have sales offices all around India. We are the challenger brand in hygiene, hair removal, and personal care to brands like Gillette, Veet, Venus, Philips, Nivea, and all the established large giants who we look up to a lot. We are the generation of brands that was started in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017. What are erstwhile called D2C brands. We are not one anymore, but we are still called one because we used platforms like Google, Facebook, Amazon to kind of kickstart our journey. So it's the challenger brand generation that we belong to. But of course, as a lot of brands in that generation have realized that the belly of Indian market still sits offline, and you are supposed to cultivate consumers online and take them offline. So that's the journey which I will talk about today. On the side, I love playing football. I love music. I'm a big sports buff. I run a podcast called The Barber Shop. Actually, interesting place to do this. How many people have watched The Barber Shop, even a little bit, or heard of The Barber Shop? Okay, cool. So 1/10 of what Bombay Shaving Company is. Not bad, but it's completely free. Um, this is the vision for our hygiene and personal care brands. We want to penetrate 2 crore bathrooms. We want to put 5 products per bathroom, and we want to give our consumers 10 minutes of happiness. We are Bombay Shaving Company and Bombay are in the hair removal space, hygiene space. Okay, so for us, any unwanted hair on your body, and you want to remove it, we are the brand that we want you to go to. That's how we are created. But that's not how we were created. That's how we have kind of evolved. Okay, so someone like me who likes a clean shaven head, someone who wants their body to be waxed, someone who wants a clean shave. We believe that the largest delta created between your most raw self to your most beautiful self in your own eyes, the largest delta in that waterfall is created by removal of unwanted hair. Okay, so that's the role we play in our consumer's life. We are currently in 30 lakh bathrooms. We penetrate with 1.2 products per bathroom. The 10 minutes of happiness is kind of more difficult to measure, but those two numbers are absolutely our North Star. Quick update on the business. We are a 300 crore ARR business, so we are probably going to close March at roughly 25 to 27 crores per month. This is net sales, not gross GMV, none of that. We're a out and out brand. So 300 crores net sales ARR. We ship 1 million units per month. The one stat on this page that I am most proud of is that our omni-channel presence is almost 50-50. So 50% of our business comes on screen, 50% of our business comes through store. Okay? On-screen business, roughly 8% comes from direct to consumer, and around 42% comes from e-commerce. So of our total business, only 8% comes from D2C. So we are by no means a D2C brand, but we absolutely rely on D2C to create consumer insights, to help us with marketing material, the top of funnel for us to bring consumers and cultivate them in channels that are more available to them. In offline, we are penetrated in roughly 1 lakh stores in India. Our aim is to get to 500,000 stores. So if you ever go to a La Marche, DMart, or to your neighborhood Kirana store which sells some kind of beauty or personal care products, you should see Bombay Shaving Company or Bombay, or hopefully both. In the stores, in the 1 lakh stores that we are present, we have 8% relevant share of shelf. Okay? So for example, we believe that in any store we cannot sell all of our products. We only sell the assortment that is relevant to that store. So if we are selling our charcoal shaving foam, in the foam category where you have the V-Johns and Gillettes of the world, we would take 8% store in the shelves that we are present. So that's a number that we track as well. And we are 7% top of mind in urban shavers. So that's one number that we track very, very carefully, which is what is our top of mind. That number was 1% 12 months back. So that's where we have kind of really invested our marketing money, is to get to the top of mind of the consumer, because we believe that our brand is solid and the product market fit is there at a price and usage standpoint. We were not always who we are today. We were not always like this. In fact, our evolution has not been easy. We started as a premium shaving business. I had left McKinsey. I thought that if I make a fountain pen of razors, compared to Gillette, which makes the ball pen of razors, which is very functional and great, but there is a market for fountain pen. A lot of consumers will buy my stuff for 2,000, 3,000 bucks. I was completely naive and wrong. Okay, so our initial journey to scale the business to roughly 30, 40, 50 lakhs per month was a premium shaving business. This is 2016, 2017. The big box with the metal razor, and I was always confused as to why more people are not buying the product. It's so great, I love it so much. I then realized that consumers loving the product is very different from me loving the product. And 2018 is when we kind of took the shift and said, hey, Mama Earth at that time was really scaling, and they were really showing the way to a lot of us. And they had kind of created a lot of subcategories. So they were doing really well in mosquito, anti-mosquito or mosquito repellents. They were doing really well in face washes. They were doing well in a lot of these subcategories in mom and baby. So we said, hey, let's go into a lot of subcategories for men. So let's launch hair oils and shampoos and beard oils and a lot of those soaps and body washes and all of that. Again, it created the illusion of growth. So we went from 30 lakhs a month to roughly 2.5 crores per month with that strategy. Every new product we launched, we felt will give us 10 lakhs more of business, which it did. But when COVID hit in 2020, we were a 200 SKU portfolio. And if you asked our consumers, what do you know Bombay Shaving Company for? Nobody had an answer. Okay? Somebody thought of us as a shaving cream business, someone thought of us as a shaving foam business, someone thought of us as a razor business, and we did not have a core. And that's when we realized that brands have to be known for fundamentally one thing. You enter the bathroom for one proposition, and that has to be a consistent singular proposition. You enter the kitchen as Maggie for 2-minute tasty noodles. You can make sauces and ketchups and soups, but you're known as 2-minute noodles. We were not known for anything. And that's when we did two things. 17 women employees in Bombay Shaving Company in May of 2020 decided to revolt because all waxing salons were shut and they had hair on their arms and legs. And they said, we are employed at Bombay Shaving Company and we cannot afford to be hairy. So what do we do? And I said, there's a lockdown happening. There's very little I can do for you guys. So they kind of said, okay, you know what? We should launch a women's business. And my immediate reaction was, no, we are a men's grooming business. They said, no, we are not. 25% of our consumers are women, in store and out of store. We are a great gifting brand. There's no reason why we can't launch our women's business. So we launched our women's business, which has now become Bombay. Today, Bombay accounts for almost 22% of our total sales in only 1.5 years. Okay? But the insights were super critical. The insight for women shaving was it's a service-driven business sitting in waxing salons, right? It is not a DIY business. Second is women shave in the shower. They don't shave at the basin. And they shave larger surface areas. They shave ankle to thigh, wrist to arm. Their hair is longer, sparser, thinner. So because of lack of water and this usage, they need a razor that does not clog. When you go from ankle to thigh, all the women are nodding very vigorously. So when you go from ankle to thigh, your razor should still take out the hair. So your blades cannot be closed. You cannot take a 3-blade razor, make it pink and sell it to women. You can't do that. Okay, so we said, okay, fine, we really need to figure this out. The women, I obviously had no first-hand consumer insight. So we got it done and we realized that our face razors, body razors for women were really doing well because we focused on anti-clog and did that well. The second thing is we launched trimmers. Trimmers is a market that has been taken over by Philips. If all of you think of Philips, you think of lights and kitchen appliances. But it's an amazingly market-leading business in trimmers. So we said amazing. Unlike Gillette, which is a very, very solid incumbent, Philips seemed to be someone where we can have a bigger right to win in trimmers. Launch trimmers, and in COVID we realized that hair removal is where immediate PMF happens for us. So that's the real jump from 30 crores per year when COVID hit to today 300 crores. So we have almost done 10x. And the line of sight now is, are we a hygiene plus personal care business? We realize that if someone buys our shaving cream, a charcoal, look at our shaving foam, for example. The insights are simple. How many people here, the men who shave, everyone probably uses shaving cream or shaving foam, right? All men in India shave before they take a bath. It's very different from the rest of the world where people shave after they take a bath. Most men in India shave with their banyan or t-shirt on. Okay? Men in India don't like, when they shave, the foam to leak onto their neck. So now the men are nodding vigorously. You don't want that to happen. So you want a product that sticks to your face and does not leak. It's also the product that goes closest to your nostrils, much more than face wash even, so fragrance matters. Because you take a bath after that, the fragrance to stay after for 15 minutes matters. Small, small insights. This you cannot get through digital marketing or through ads and so on. This has to be observing people shaving, which by the way is an amusing activity at the very least. So you have to go inside bathrooms and make your friends shave and be really uncomfortable for long periods of time. So we then launched a charcoal shaving foam. We launched charcoal shaving cream. It sticks to the face, solves for the fragrance issue, and we then realized that we have a right to win in non-hair removal categories which are adjacent to our own. So charcoal face wash started selling with our charcoal shaving cream. Okay? And that's how the business has now evolved into a hygiene and personal care business. 7 products across men and women account for 80% of our business. That is #1 gospel for consumer brands. Consumer brands that sell a lot of products with 200 products accounting for large businesses are not real brands because consumer does not know you for one thing. So consumer has to know you for one thing and consumer has to repeat, and your experience has to be better at a price and value level to your competition. So that's the learning that we have gotten for 6-7 years. But staying close to your consumer is very, very hard, especially in categories like ours. We have seen this happen with Bombay Shaving Company and Bombay, for example. Bombay is our women's brand. Our product stays inside the bathroom and men don't talk about it. You will never see 2 men look at each other and say, hey, dude, tera kya sahi daadi hai yaar? Tune shave kaise kiya? We don't see that. Like Rajat and I are close for 15 years, we are friends now. We don't have that conversation, except for now. Today morning I told him, you have such a nice beard and we have a conversation because it's my profession. Women, on the other hand, very easy word of mouth. Right? You'll have 3 girlfriends, 2 sisters, very easily talk to each other and say, hey, I love your lip color. I love your hair. How do you get such smooth texture? Arey dude, tune wo dekha kya? Wo shampoo use kar. Yahan pe, then Amazon link will go. So women have a natural conversation, men don't. Staying close to consumers is the brand's responsibility, which in our case is difficult. Brand stays inside the bathroom, usage is personal, consumers don't talk. So you look at people who have done this well, and I wanted to give you one example of an entrepreneur who I really look up to, who has started all 3 of these companies. Okay? Kesh King, Pet Safa, Dr. Ortho. What's the insight? Show of hands. What's the insight? Brand says what it is, but what's the insight? What's the consumer insight? वो तो brand first है. Consumer first बताओ. Personal तो ठीक है, sharper. What the sharp brand is? Yeah, good. Correct. Correct. Dr. Juneja realized men don't talk. 40-year-old men have certain issues. They don't talk about it. They go straight to the pharmacist and pick up something. So he said, let me build brands that solve for this in priority. He's the most brilliant consumer entrepreneur. I don't know whether he thinks of it this way. I have evaluated his business choices for 20 years, and this is my hypothesis. He said, #1 issue for men, balding. hair loss. हिंदी ब्रांड बनाओ, हिंदी नाम होना चाहिए उसमें. केश किंग, यूपी बिहार में use Raju Srivastava, put ads in single screen theaters, and just scale the business through communication. And he put, it's a one warehouse manufacturer in Haridwar, okay, Kesh King. Built a business to 300 crores 15 years back. Sold it to Imami for 1200 crores, completely bootstrapped. Then said, okay, what's the second issue that 40-year-old men in India face, which they don't talk about? Piles, constipation. All around, on railway tracks, you will see Bawasir ka doctor, but no one's really building a brand for it. Built out Pet Safa. Again, Hindi word in the brand name. The logo has a commode in it. And this is not a stool softener, churan thing. This is a violent product. You have it at night, next day you're 2 kilos lighter. That's the product. But it is beautiful. And this is black and white, but the logo is actually yellow and red. The dabba is yellow and red. It sits in the pharmacist. The guy comes in, usko kuch bolne ki zarurat hi nahi hai. आंखों में the pharmacist realize को क्या चाहिए. फटाफट Pet Safa goes, the guy goes super happy. Realize what's the third issue that 40-year-old men in India face, especially in UP, Bihar, where there is sometimes a lot more walking, lot more physically enduring work that they do. Joint pain. Started Dr. Orthos. Pet Safa is now scaled to 300 crores last I hear. Dr. Orthos scaled to 150 crores. Dr. Juneja is not someone you will usually see at conferences like this, but consumer brands in India are built by people like him. Most outstanding consumer entrepreneur, because he stays close to his consumer, understands the consumer to the core. Okay? That's what brands like us, like McKinsey consultants and New Age, Digital, Google, we are not people who really build consumer brands in my view yet. We are learning how to do it, but real Indian brands are built by Haldirams and Darshan Bhai of Fog and Move and Crack fame. DFM Foods, who's built out Cracks and Nutcut, and Dr. Juneja, who's built out these brands. But staying close to the consumer, whether you advertise digitally, etc., remains core to building brands in India. But building a brand versus running a brand are very different things, which is something I want to talk to marketers here. Because in today's day and age, because consumers are spending 5-6 hours on a screen every day, the ability to build a brand today is very different. Building a brand is a growth game, running a brand is an efficiency game. If you're running a brand, if you're running a 500 crore plus brand today and you're wondering what's happening in the D2C e-commerce world, I can guarantee you the DNA of your organization or your brand has to change to fit the audience that's in this room today. So something that we at Bombay Shaving Company do, because we have investors like Colgate and Reckitt, global, right, large $50 billion plus organizations who have invested in us, we run D2C and to some extent e-commerce for them through our company. And we have realized that a lot of the channel efficiency for large brands comes through growth and agility, which is something that most companies don't realize, especially when they scale. Good content helps growth, great content helps exponential growth. One of the things we realized, one of the marketing properties that worked a lot for our brand was my LinkedIn page, which had like 100,000 followers. I would write about entrepreneurship, building companies, etc. It would get a lot of our consumers were driven from my LinkedIn posts. So we said, how do we create this into really ephemeral content? Right? That is permanent, stays with the consumer, so we converted this into a podcast. We called it The Barber Shop. We brought in entrepreneurs and leaders and founders, and I just did conversations with them. We have now hit almost 40 million plus views, completely organically. Today's consumer is, everyone knows this, कि short form content serve karo, लेकिन क्या? Brand cannot tell short form content about themselves, consumer will swipe. If I go and do barbershop and talk about ये shaving cream खरीदो, वो foam खरीदो, no one's going to buy anything. कितना भी सही agency हो, कितना भी सही production हो, कितना भी सही सब कुछ हो, I cannot be my brand. I have to very subtly respect the intelligence of the consumer, because consumer is damn smart. Damn smart. The moment she realizes that this is a branded content, you're gone. Right? So figuring out how to create great content that reflects your brand but identifies with the consumer is the key. Reflects your brand, identify with the consumer. This is a generational shift. Okay? When there were fewer brands and fewer media opportunities, consumers would build their identity around their brands. कि मैं Cadbury खाता हूँ, मैं सर्फ ललिता जी के साथ आइडेंटिफाई करती हूँ, इसलिए मैं सर्फ एक्सेल यूज करूंगी. You identified with the brand because your identity was lent to someone else who used to think bigger than yourself. Today's consumer thinks of herself as bigger than the brand. We are the center of our universe. This is the classic migration of lower middle class to middle class to upper middle classes. What happens is demographic in nature becomes a lot more self-confident. Okay? So they become the center of their universe. You have to fit as the brand. You are not the center of their universe. All branded, and we recruit a lot from large companies, large brands, etc. When you're running a Dove or when you're running a Gillette or so on, you genuinely think कि तुम्हारा brand क्या सही है यार. लेकिन तुम्हारा brand 30 second भी important नहीं consumer के लिए, because for them they are the important people. So how do you build content that then makes you efficient on media, that then helps you acquire consumers and get consumer love? Is a very different generational shift in the journey of brand building today versus what it was 10, 50, even 10 years back. Even 10 years back, this was not as relevant as it is today. But premiumization is real. I'll give you two examples. Red Bull. How many people here have had Red Bull? Most people would have had, right? It literally tastes like a medicine syrup. Okay, it's not a great tasting product. It's for $100. There is no reason a brand like Red Bull in India should survive. Every other brand in India, the moment they take price up by 10%, they see volume drop of 40%. Every other brand in Indian consumer, in the fridge, Coke, Pepsi, look at all of the Amul, anyone in the fridge takes price up by 10%, volume drops of 40%. Red Bull, 100 rupees. But why? Because they have created energy as their core. Someone jumping from a parachute 35 kilometers in the air, Red Bull. Someone driving a Formula 1 car, Red Bull. Football team ownership, Red Bull. Anything energy and adventure, Red Bull. Consumer wants to associate with that. It reflects their identity, becomes real. For a long time, from 2011 to 2017, Red Bull struggled in the 300 to 400 to 500 crore range. Can you imagine? Red Bull was as big as Bombay Shaving Company 10 years back. 2017 to 2020, suddenly that 400, 500 crores became 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 crores. Today, Red Bull is clocking over 2,000 crores per year. 2,000 crores per year. It's as big as Dettol. Just for comparison. Okay? So, premiumization is real. How many people know the largest selling car in India over the last 1 year? By volume, highest selling car. Which Maruti? Wagon R. What's the second highest selling car? Baleno. It was Desire for 4 years. It's become Baleno now. Baleno is an out and out premium car. That Baleno is the second highest selling car in the country is astounding to me. But premiumization is real. It is being seen in every purchase choice that consumers are driving. Mamaearth I spoke about. Out and out premium product, consumers love it. Right? So premiumization is real. At the same time, brand building has to reflect the identity of the consumer. It's very complex. Very, very complex. Getting content right, which relates to the consumer, but give value at the same time premium aspiration. Super tough. So the lines marketers are drawing are very narrow and walking them is very, very difficult. People used to assume that aspirational brand बनाना है तो उसको महंगा बनाना पड़ेगा. How many people think that's the case? कि aspirational brands are expensive. Premium brands are high priced. How many people think that way? राइट ताज में रहना है तो 12,000 का रूम होगा, लेमन ट्री में रहना है तो 6,000 का रूम होगा. महंगा है, अच्छा है. मर्सिडीज चाहिए 60 लाख की गाड़ी होगी, मारुति चाहिए 12 लाख की गाड़ी होगी. हाउ मेनी पीपल थिंक दैट मोर प्रीमियम इज मोर एस्पिरेशनल, इज मोर एक्सपेंसिव? Yes, but not in consumer products. In our case, what we have realized is in personal care and food, you can be a aspirational premium brand and be price competitive both. So if you see Bombay Shaving Company, it's got a premium look and feel to it. Consumers pick it up, feel ki महंगा product hai. At the same time, we are 10% discounted to Gillette. We struggled with this a lot. कि यार हम सस्ते हो जाएंगे तो हमारा brand खत्म होगा. नहीं. Your brand is driven by the experience you give to the consumer, period. Great packaging, outstanding fragrance, amazing feel on the face, 10 minutes of happiness. Can you give? Yes, your brand is premium. If you sell it for 20 rupees, that's fine. Consumer thinks value hai, premium hai, sahi hai. So the ability to marry value and aspiration for brands like ours is absolutely paramount. And it is a possible goal. Optimizing for this is a possible goal. Okay, that's again a learning which is very counterintuitive, but something that we have become comfortable with. We still struggle with kitna discount karna, etc., etc. So we try to discount lesser and price lesser both. So I'm going to conclude by saying building brands today remains broadly the same fundamental tenets, but the balance that you have to draw along lines of consumer and media are very different. Okay? So consumer first proposition. We cannot think brand and manufacturer first. कि इतना बड़ा category है, ये है, वो nothing. Consumer first. Shaving cream and shaving and face wash sell together. They're completely different categories, completely different in the way they should be perceived, but applied on the face, same tubes in the bathroom, sit next to each other near the basin. So they are adjacent products. Consumer thinks they're adjacent products. Brand को कुछ भी लगे. So consumer first proposition होना चाहिए. Number 2, tell your story consistently. Brand marketers get super bored of their campaigns. कुछ नया करते हैं. अरे तुम्हारा job relevance is not the objective function. Amul is Amul because they have told the same story for last 50 years. So consistent storytelling is paramount, whatever the media. कितना भी तुम digital media ये वो सब कुछ कर लो, you have to tell the same story over and over again, and distribute, distribute, distribute. Anyone who's running a small brand in India, whether it is media or whether it is availability of your SKUs, just distribute end to end. So on that note, I'm going to end my keynote, but I don't know, Shani, if you have time, I'm happy to kind of take questions from the crowd, but that's it.
We can take 1 or 2 questions.
Show of hands, anyone?
Quick one. Let's have a show of hands.
Yes.
All right, this side.
Yes.
Okay.
So first of all, it is really pleasure to listen you here.
Thank
so
you.
while I was driving to here, I was listening to your podcast only.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Which
so
one?
With Ankur Variku.
With Ankur Variku, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my question to you is, while running, deciding what marketing strategy is for you, what sort of questions do you ask the marketing people like on ROI? What do you expect them to provide you in such cases?
No, yeah, absolutely. So we are very clear in our company because we are analytically driven. We were, like I said, we were born in the Facebook, Google, Amazon age. So our DNA is a very analytics driven DNA. We get a lot of dashboards, we look at a lot of metrics, right? So things like CPM, cost per click, click-through rates, etc., is something that is constant. Now, whether it's the marketing strategy or whether it's the marketers, whether it's the CMO, whether it's content strategy, anyone, right? So we are very clear about what our L0, L1, L2 metrics are. And then when a campaign idea is suggested or a GTM strategy is there, we are going to launch this product, this is how we're going to launch it. Here's the media we're going to buy, here's the content we're going to tell. We are going to say what's the objective function for this. हमको objective function क्या है और वो objective function sales में कैसे tune in होता है. So for example, I'll give you something which we have not announced yet, but keep it in the room. We're doing something with Rajasthan Royals this time. We are co-branding a complete personal care range with Rajasthan Royals, Bombay Shaving Company and Rajasthan Royals. Objective function is Jaipur, Jodhpur, Jaisalmer, Udaipur, Mount Abu, and one more place. And there are 6 cities in Rajasthan. How do we buy media so that velocity of these products plus Bombay Shaving Company becomes 2x in these 3 months in these 6,000 stores? That's the objective function. So marketing has to lead to sales outcomes over a period of time, but very clearly. So define the objective function and how you're going to measure it. That's all.
Yeah. And just a follow-up question.
Yeah.
What do you think about the outdoor media section that is like happening right now?
I think it has to be local and for brands like us. I cannot speak for larger brands, but for brands like us, because we are doing online to offline a lot, we have to focus it to not only cities, but for example, we are now doing something on Golf Course Road alone. 10 societies on Golf Course Road, putting a lot of things here and there, and then taking outdoor media only on that road, stocking up the stores with certain products. But it will be very clear कि तुम क्या बोल रहे हो और तुम जो बोल रहे हो उसका लिंक तुम्हारे दुकानों के साथ है कि नहीं. अगर तुम कुछ बोल रहे हो वहाँ पे राजस्थान रॉयल्स बोल रहे हो और दुकान में तुम बेच रहे हो कुछ और, then you don't do a good job with that. So outdoor media for us has to be super focused with a clear tie-in to the objective function.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can we just quickly take one last up
Yes,
right there
I
from
can see
that
a
section? Yes, ma'am, we'll give it to you.
Hi.
If you can just use the mic, it's just being passed on.
This is Jaya from India Today Group. I found your session, of course, extremely relatable, being in the industry for almost 15, 17 years. I wanted to ask you one specific thing that you said was related to branded content. When you said you did the barber shop, right? That's a form of branded content.
Not really. I talk about Bombay Shaving Company. I never sell Bombay Shaving Company.
Correct, but branded content has also evolved into that now.
Correct.
You said the minute it is branded content, it becomes a space that you want to run away from.
Correct.
So then, are you saying that that's not branded content?
It's not, in my view, it's not branded content. It's very subtle. So we'll put a chotu sa logo of Bombay Shaving Company in 1 in 5 videos. I sit with a Bombay Shaving Company t-shirt, 1 in 5 videos. I talk about Bombay Shaving Company, but very contextually. If my guest is talking about offline sales, I will talk about offline sales in my context. The conversation is not about Bombay Shaving Company or Bombay at all. My introduction is not as CEO of Bombay Shaving Company at all. It is as host of the barber shop. But the name is the barber shop.
Correct.
So it has to be very subtle. So I don't think barber shop is branded. I don't think. If you ask the listeners here, were you listening to barber shop because of Bombay Shaving Company? But you know about Bombay Shaving Company because of it. That's the whole thing.
So the name barbershop, to drive those 40 million views that you said, was it something that happened obviously through efforts and?
Yeah. So my effort is in the content. I spend a lot of time bringing the right people, having the right, each of my shoot lasts 6 hours. I do 2 to 3 shoots a month, which is a lot of my time goes into this.
Correct.
Right, and there are people who have to like take flights, and there's a production crew. We do this in the office, so super frugal, but still we spend a lot of time bringing out the right conversations, editing it the right way, and then distributing it on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Apple, etc. But anyone who's listening to it eventually realizes, so it's like Joe Rogan and UFC. You listen to Joe Rogan for Joe Rogan, you realize he is a UFC commentator, then a lot of people start moving towards UFC later on, because that's his identity. My identity is founder CEO of Bombay Shaving Company, but for listeners, it's about the conversation.
Correct. I think you answered it. Thank you.
Shantanu, you already know from the people that the keynote was fantastic, amazing.
Thank you
Let's
so
have a
much.
round of cheer for Shantanu. Thank you very, very much. And Shantanu, before we let you go, and Shini's just looking at me that Shikha, we need to go to the next session.
Sure.
There's this little uncanny, sort of ritual that we have introduced in this edition, which is that you have to play like a quick rapid fire with the host. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Should we go for it, ladies and gentlemen? And thank you, by the way, to all of you for making the innings very conversational. Now, the question to you is, the thing is, you have to pull a rabbit out of your hat.
Okay.
The question is, if you were handcuffed, what would the reason be? What would be that
I were
one?
handcuffed?
Yes.
This is a public forum, right?
It is, undoubtedly. But what could be that one reason if Shantanu was ever handcuffed?
So I have had my run-in with the law fairly, but not for my own fault. I was born in the US, came to India. My parents got me an Indian passport. And then I was a US citizen without a US passport and without paying taxes there. So I was on the no-fly list for 2-3 years. So I was not in handcuffs, but I was on a fairly serious wicket with the US embassy till I got it solved.
All the honesty. But here's the thing, does he win the hamper?
Yeah, of course.
He does? Okay, we'll decide over the hamper. The hamper always belongs to the host. All you get is the audience applauses. Can we have a final big round of cheer?